IVM.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of TFG Indian Football Podcast. Things are updating and so is things around the studio as well. The under-23 of India is already in the semi-final of the SAFF, the South Asian Football Federation semi-final, and here we are talking about upgradation. So you'll be hearing some noises, you'll have to bear with us in that regard. So there's some things going on in the studio, around the studio. There's a reason you might just hear something. But we're talking about Indian football over here, upgradation. Chiranjit, are we getting the next level of Indian football generation up there? No, 2 goals.
Yeah, actually, I spoke to Mohammed Shahnawaz, one of the admins of footballpakistan.com. So he brought in the Pakistani perspective about this match, and I thought it would be a nice thing to do as we're building up to the game. So we do discuss a lot of this aspect of the South tournament as well, and how both India and Pakistan are approaching this tournament. Both of the teams actually are testing out their own new squads. If you look at it, even though, of course, the Pakistani team has been suspended for a long time, they're making a comeback here. A lot of players from foreign leagues who play in Denmark and elsewhere have come in. So it's a kind of a testing period for them, and of course for us it's a testing period because we're playing the under-23 team in order to fill 3-4 vacancies that we have in the main team going into the Asian Cup. So that's one of the ways SAFF Championship has been used quite a few times. Even last time, you remember, Lalian Zuala Chamte got his debut. Just got thrust in at the age of 16 and came up with scoring goals and everything. But it's India versus Pakistan, man. Like,
in
how
football,
long has it been?
Yeah,
how long has it been? It doesn't matter if it's under 23, under 16, under 9. Doesn't matter. It's India versus Pakistan. If these two countries are playing, you're gonna drop everything and you're gonna watch and you're gonna cheer for your country to win. Winning here, I think, is way more important than like youth development or those are the long-term goals. But if you're playing this game, you have to go out there and you have to give everything to win. Otherwise, I don't know, man.
No, yes,
isn't it?
Chiranjit, rightly you saying, it's India versus Pakistan. Be it any sport, it always lights up everybody's eyes.
Gilli danda pe bhi waisa hi hoega. Gilli danda, ya fir if an Indian and a Pakistani guy sits down and plays bridge, you're gonna have 50 people behind cheering for either team. That's what yahi hota hai.
You've really taken it to the granular level, Chiranjit. Yeah, yes. We're talking about football over here, and Pakistan rightfully again being in the semi-final, being in the way for for that one spot in the final from we are it was bound to happen, and rightfully both young squads facing each other, testing times again. So let's talk a bit about the game yesterday. So India got the better of Maldives and a 2-0 clean sheet. That's a good thing to have, clean sheet with a new squad. So 2 clean sheets in a row, and that's how we have made it to the semi-final now.
I don't know, man. I'm not very convinced of these team sheets because Sri Lanka and Maldives, the teams we played, what kind of an attack did they have? They were, when they played each other, it was 0-0. And then what happens is that both the teams were 0-0 against each other. Both lost 2-0 to India. And so both of them were on the same goal difference. And in the end, they had a coin toss, a freaking coin toss at the end of the game. And Maldives won the coin toss, so now they're in the semi-finals. So Maldives are in SAFF Championship semi-final without scoring a single goal. Let that get to your head. And if that's our sample size, if that's what we are up against, I don't know what to think about this difference. I don't think this difference has been tested as well. And I think a better reference point would be the Sydney FC game. They were playing a rather youthful side of a A-League club, and we let in 3 goals or 4 goals, something like that. Yeah, that's a better representation of this defense, because again, that's what you expect. These guys are playing together, not for long, not like the senior national team where Sandesh Jingan and others have had an understanding building up since the last SAFF Championship. So they've spent more than 2 years playing with each other. You expect these guys to make mistakes, and the thing that worries me is that the kind of attacking strength that Pakistan have, that they've, I think, produced 5 or 6 goals already in the tournament. If those guys sort of start the game with an amount of pace, can that overwhelm this young Indian defense?
Yeah.
And can Subhashish Bose, as a young leader, can he step up to the plate and handle the situation? That I think is going to be the biggest question mark for India in this game.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, and talking about questions, we've all not really been tested to a point where we can say we've braced those challenges and reached at a level where we've been pushed down, we've been under pressure. So we are yet to see that in the 2 games played, and hopefully the semi-final clash against Pakistan brings up those challenges. Vice versa, we're talking about development size, probably the next generation for both countries facing each other, and unless you've been tested enough, it's not really a good tournament to have. So hopefully the semi-final clash brings up those challenges to either teams, and we should see a good fight, because in the end you're looking at the next generation. You're not looking at this team to go all out, not score too many goals, and that's not going to be the result that we are looking for. We are looking for the player development, how you can use this as a platform to bring out 1 or 2 players who might just get into and sneak into the senior national team.
And we're also looking to win. And I don't care. If this is not a win, then people will forget about player development. People will forget about how somebody has played really well, Anirudh Thapa or somebody who has played excellently against Maldives or Sri Lanka. They'll say Pakistan se khela tab to haar gaya. Then why are you making a case for yourself going into Asian Cup? So that's where we are, I think.
Yes, Chiranjeev, I think interesting points. You're almost closing in to that point where we can expect a lot of good conversation that you had with Mohammed Shahnawaz from Football Pakistan on Twitter. And this also brings us to the point where we need to just slip into a short break. And on the other side, yes, the entire conversation between Chiranjeev and Mohammed Shahnawaz. And at the end, we will come back to an interesting bit. We just couldn't resist not to talk about it. All that on the other side of the break.
You know what it's been? It's been another awesome week on IVM. If you aren't following us on social media, make sure you are. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. On Cider Says this week, we have comedian Adar Malik. Adar also hosts a show called Sunloji. You should check that out as well. But on Ciders, he talks about everything from theatre, family heritage, and sings a comedy song. On IVM Like, Sharanya and May are back to join the gang to talk about their favorite subject, rom-coms. On the Pragati podcast, Pawan and Hamsini discuss how and why the fall in the Indian rupee is connected with developments in Turkey, with co-founder and fellow at the Takshashila Institution, Narayan Ramchandran. Last week, we released the final episode of the Kolaba Cartel, where we spoke to other members from the Misty team along with the 5 cartel members about how things have turned out after the launch of the restaurant. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam talks to Deepak Shenoy on the business of life in a 1-hour episode. Whatever may be your profession, you definitely don't want to miss this episode. On the Kinetic Living podcast, Coach Urmi talks to Kanish Surka. Kanish shares her thoughts about her fitness motivation and more. And with that, let's continue on with your show.
All right, welcome back after the break, and here we are talking about India versus Pakistan, and we just heard Chiranjeev, giving a short brief on what you can expect from the conversation you're about to listen in, and let's head on to this conversation. Interesting bit. India versus Pakistan in the semi-final of the SAFF Championship. Let's hear it all.
Hey guys, so we're speaking to Mohammed Shahnawaz, who is joining us all the way from Leeds, England. He's an ardent Pakistan football fan, and he is one of the main admins who run the website footballpakistan.com. They're also on Twitter at @footballpakistan. And of course, we're speaking now because, of course, the main reason we're speaking is Leeds United got knocked out of the League Cup by Preston. How did that happen?
It was a bit of a shock because the way Leeds had started. But we were thinking maybe we can do an invincible season. But yeah,
of course. I mean,
he rested a few players, and but yeah, I guess now he can focus on the league.
Yeah, I mean, Leeds are doing so well in the Championship. Hopefully, they'll be in the Premier League next time, top of the table. And yeah, of course, that's not really the reason we're speaking. The actual reason we're speaking is because India are about to face Pakistan after 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, 4 years. I mean, last time we played was in the under-23 trip that we made. We played in Bangalore.
Yeah,
in a
I think two matches at the Bangalore Football Stadium. One was a 1-0 win for India. Next time it was Pakistan who won 2-0. And that was the last time the under-23 sides faced off. This is, of course, the senior team of Pakistan that's playing in the SAFF Championship. And they last played India, I think, all the way back in 20th August 2013. That was again in the SAFF Championship in Nepal.
Yeah.
And India won that game about 1-0.
1-0. Yeah.
So it's been so it's been like just over 5 years, and of course we want to see India play Pakistan way more often because the fans of both countries get energized over it, and it gets more coverage in the news, and it's good for football in both countries. But we have seen Pakistan disappear from the international football scene since I think it was March 2015 when they played the World Cup qualifier first round against Yemen, and since then they have just been absent. So for the fans who are mostly Indian fans who are not following the situation that unfolded with Pakistan Football Federation, could you give us a quick overview of what happened? Why FIFA put that suspension on Pakistan?
Yeah, I mean, looking back at it, like I said, it has been a long time. March 2013 when we last played, and then things started to unravel politically in Football Federation, election disputes, a rival faction with some, the PFA, I would say, with the government support, government state machinery, they came in and they took over the PFF house. They kicked the PFF officials out, and then the PFF held an election, which, in India you have this sports code where you have 10-year restrictions, age restrictions. In Pakistan, they were trying to implement the similar thing, and the PFF president, who was seeking his fourth term when only 2 terms are allowed. So he held an election. The Lahore High Court, declared a null and void and appointed an administrator, and then they just never worked together. The PFF was out of office. All football activity came to standstill. As you know, courts take their time in our part of the world, and it just dragged on and on. FIFA gave 2-year mandate to the PFF, which was not in the headquarters, but they still gave them the 2-year mandate. That mandate then expired in 2017. In the meantime, Pakistan pulled out of every single event purely because they were not in the headquarters and they didn't have the official government backing, and they couldn't really send a team. There were fans and campaigners who said, look, you send a team, we can help fundraise, we can find sponsors, but bringing team out of every single event sort of brought the game to a halt, and also sort of played into a narrative, look, we are out of office, we can't send a team, therefore we need to be back in the office. And then the ban came in, that lasted a few months, and then the court case got decided, and then FIFA lifted the ban, and the same people that have been in power for 15 years are back in power. And obviously you've had a similar but not as bad with the Delhi High Court and the 10-year restrictions and the administrator / ombudsman appointed, but at least in your part the federation didn't get kicked out.
Yeah, well, it has not gone to that bad a situation, thankfully. But that's part of the situation we face almost everywhere in different sports, where if there are factionalisms everywhere, and if the faction with more power is not getting to rule over a sport, they just block everything, and it's of course, it's the fans that suffer, it's the team that suffers, and the sports that suffers. But after a long break, Pakistan finally made a return. They had some very interesting friendly matches to mark their return, and now they have made it into the semi-finals. Just looking at the three group stage matches that Pakistan have played. You feeling positive about this?
It's the way we have played so far. It's been very different to how we played SAFF Cups before. In the previous SAFF Cups, we've tried to play a bit of football, and we've not had the fortune to go in our favour, like how we lost to India. It was a very fluky own goal that went in 2013, and then Nepal scored equaliser very late on. So here we've not played well in terms of we've not played attractive football. We've just got the result that we needed so far, whereas we were a bit unlucky against Bangladesh as well. Again, it's been a bit of rustiness as well. The players have not played together for a long time. The preparation they've had was not brilliant. They went to Bahrain, where with one coach managing two squads. So he had a batch of under 23 players focusing on the Asian games, and then some of the seniors that were mixing and playing. So literally they only just had 2 games each squad, and that's how they came here. Whereas in terms of looking forward to the semi-final, I think it's from Pakistan point of view, they're probably just glad that they're here. But then when you face India, I think a lot of the times tactics and everything goes out the window. I mean, just listening to even the cricket guys, how they play about their cricket, like tactics go out of the window. It's just the occasion, and that's what you play for.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, the appointment of this Brazilian coach, Jose Antonio Goldberger Nogueira, I mean, it seems like similar to the situation that we got with the Indian national team with Stephen Constantine. And I remember it wasn't obviously as bad, but when India was going into the SAFF Championship in 2015, that was a team that was beaten down. I mean, it was derided, criticized. It had a lot of young players, so they did not have much of an experience playing for the national team, and everybody thought Afghanistan were going to win, and a lot of people were predicting like probably Maldives or Nepal are going to beat us, and it sort of, that tournament sort of became a coming out party. Finally everything fell into place. But it was not a very smooth process. It was you could see the rust in the players. You could see they were just learning to gel together. Similar process is happening with SAFF, with Pakistan in SAFF, you think?
That could be the case, but I think looking at how Stephen was, he was familiar with the football in the subcontinent. He had coached India, so he had coached Nepal. He had been around. He knew what was expected at this level. Whereas in terms of our coach, he's never coached in South Asia. He's had very unsuccessful attempts in coaching in Africa and the Caribbean. So I think it's a bit different for him. Like for example, yesterday after we beat Bhutan, I think one of the players were explaining to him, "Look, we are through," and I think he wasn't even aware of the calculations. In terms of, I think it's a little bit of a very tricky appointment that they made. Obviously, he's funded by Bahrain, who have pretty good relationships with the PFF, and the Brazilian guy was a good friend of the PFF's current technical director, the guy from Pakistan. He went and did a few courses in Brazil, so that's how they built that rapport with each other.
That's Faisal Saleh Hayat.
But looking forward, maybe like you said, this is a tournament for him to see what's out there for him, and then he can go back to the drawing board after this and say, okay, what kind of football style will work with these players, and how I want to play. Because right now, I think they're just playing however. It is at the moment. It's not very fluent. It's not very attractive, but it's tournament football, and I guess the results are matter.
Yeah, of course. If you win in the end, I think the fans forgive the style of football you're playing. It's about getting the job done. But again, there's been some allegations of favoritism leveled against the Indian football elite by some of our players as well. But how far do you think? I mean, how deep does favoritism go in terms of picking the Pakistan football team? Because we heard, some senior players had disputes with the federation, and some of them were not picked. And as you're saying, I don't think even you're convinced that Mr. Nogueira was probably the best choice available to them when they picked him.
Yeah, I mean the selection in South Asia and everywhere we use when somebody doesn't get selected, there's like all this favoritism, there's nepotism, and we've always believed that every coach has a method to his selection. Obviously, he'll have his likes and dislikes, his favorites, his non-favorites. But in this case, where especially the case with Kalimullah, he's out and about. He was at the World Cup with some corporate event, involvement, and then he's been fairly vocal of the situation, how the football has been handled over the last few years, and the politicization of it. So I think his opinions have cost him. And the PFF said, oh, well, he wasn't fit. Well, if he wasn't fit, he wouldn't be playing football over in Turkey, even though he's might be playing a 4th or 5th division. But we've a guy who's come from America. He's an amateur player in America, and he's played in all 3 games so far. So, you can't really say, oh, well, he's playing lower level, his fitness won't be up to the standard. Well, you have to have him in the training camp and spend time. So, but again, on the overseas players, some of them have got selected. There are a few still out, I think, which the federation probably needs to go and make an approach to attract. But that depends how far they want to go, because 3 or 4 is something we usually see from overseas. Are they willing to go to see how Afghanistan and Philippines have done? Are they willing to put 8, 9 starting 11 or in the squad? That's something remains to be seen how this coach may go about. In terms of domestically, because we've not had a league for 3 years, it's difficult to see the next big thing coming out of the domestic football for another couple of years as well, because no league, no domestic football, so you're not producing any breakthrough talent either.
One big thing that happened when Constantine came to India was like he pretty much spelled it out. The target is to get into Asian Cup 2019. Have you seen this coach, Mr. Nogueira? He's got a 3-year contract. Has he spelled anything out? This is what we're going for.
I mean, I always say this is the easiest job in world football, the Pakistan job. Especially if you are paid by a third party, because then you literally have no pressure on yourself. You're not there, you're not employed by that particular federation. They're not paying your salary and demanding results. You can turn up, just fool them that, for next 3 years, I'm going to focus on the youth. I'm going to focus on the 23s. 2 years later, you lose the AFC under 23 qualifiers, and then you're gone and does the thing, and you compromise the senior team, you compromise the World Cup qualifiers. I mean, this guy is saying, look, I want to build football. I want to do this. I want to do that. After 3 years, this happened and that happened. But even if you look back at it, those 3 years, they were never going to be really busy for us, because we had lost the Yemen qualifiers, so therefore we were not going to have the 8 World Cup qualifiers, we were not going to have the 6 following Asian Cup qualifiers. So all we at best would have had the AFC Solidarity Cup and another SAFF Cup. That's about it. So we've not missed out a great deal in that sense. We've only missed out a SAFF Cup and AFC Solidarity Cup, which is 6 matches over 3 years. So it remains to be seen what kind of idea he has, because if he thinks his aim is to qualify for Asia Cup or win the pre-qualifier, which we've never done. We've never won pre-qualifier, and it usually gets over for us in the first leg, be it 7-0 versus Iraq, 3-0 against Bangladesh on a waterlogged pitch, or a 3-1 against Yemen. So then he really needs to plan and prepare. Like, we are in September, there are October FIFA dates, and we don't have a friendly planned. So it remains to be seen. I mean, if his target is okay, I want to get to the group stage of World Cup qualifiers, and then maybe try the Asian Cup qualifiers, because from what we can gather, our federation wasn't even aware last time around that the World Cup qualifiers and the Asian Cup qualifiers were clubbed together.
Okay, so that's, yeah, of course, this does speak of a lack of cohesive structure in the Pakistan football federation, but that's obviously, if I start talking about AIFF, I'm gonna be depressed as well, just as sad as you are speaking about PFF. But let's come down to the team here. One of the things that sort of made me interested in this, Pakistan football team, apart from the fact that, last SAFF Championship, I turned up at Trivandrum. I still didn't know if Pakistan were coming or not. I had hope, and I turned up this picturesque stadium. There was all the SAFF country flags flying. The Pakistan flag was there as well. Turned out they were not coming. Disappointment, because I really wanted to see an India-Pakistan match over there. It's finally happening. I've been waiting for this fixture for about more than 2 years. So the team list comes out. There's a lot of players who are playing in clubs at one is at Turkey. A few from Denmark. There's one in US, one in Malaysia, which is very rare in SAFF Championship, right? India had Gurpreet Singh Sandhu. He's back in India right now.
Yeah.
Almost every player in the national teams of SAFF Championship plays in that same country. It sort of made the Pakistan team seem new and unpredictable as to how they were gonna turn out as a unit. And do you think they still have that exotic element or that surprise element that can still come together and deliver a big result on Wednesday?
I mean, for Pakistan, it has been an ongoing experiment of these overseas players. They've just not had that right bit of fortune at times, and then not that conducive environment there where they should have excelled. So there've been internal politics at times, and so on. But some of these guys, they're fairly senior now. They know what they have missed out on the last 3 years, and they have embraced. I mean, Zesh was in the team last time we made the semi-finals 13 years ago. He's come back realizing, okay, I'm the senior guy. I need to help out. In the meantime, he's missed a number of SAFF Cups due to club commitments and injury. So he's come back in. The 3 guys from Denmark have stepped up as well. Despite there's a 4th one who's missing, he's still not been given a visa. And he's the one that we were really banking on. If he had come, he would have taken this tournament by storm. But I was still hoping that he might get a visa tomorrow and he can fly out. I mean, we did tweet to the Bangladesh foreign minister yesterday, and he did reply. But let's see. But it's good. I mean, especially with Bangladesh as well. They had one of the guys from Denmark who used to play with our guys in Copenhagen. But he's now playing in Bangladesh and doing well. So and Nepal, I think, obviously have Rohit Chand playing out in Indonesia. Like I said, India had Gurpreet abroad. We really do need a little bit more exposure. I think our players need to get out a little bit more. Obviously, you guys have 2 really good leagues now, and players are spoiled for choice. So maybe they don't want to go out just yet. But I think the more diversity we have in terms of players playing abroad and then bringing that back to them, it just helps profile as well. Then wherever they're playing, that country's media sort of takes a little bit of interest as well. And it's just one of the to think where a lot of these rankings are. India is ranked in top 100, and all of the rest of us are just clubbed around 190 to 200 somewhere. Just really shows you the standard we are at. And SAFF doesn't help yourself. 3 matches in 5 days in that heat and humidity just doesn't help.
Yeah, Dhaka is a pretty humid area, and the area the stadium is in, it like gives you a feeling of congestion. I mean, usually you see stadiums, even the urban stadiums have a little bit of parking area or some space around it, some greenery gives you a feeling of openness.
Yeah.
This one is right next to a market. Like there's some hotels next to it. There's a very busy road next to it, and there's a mosque next to it, and a big supermarket. Like part of the stadium, the outer edges of the stadium are rented out to shops. I don't know what they do on match days.
I think they had like 4 drinks breaks yesterday in that match.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that they're playing in the middle of a concrete jungle in an already humid part of the world. But one of the things that you must take heart, I mean, just looking at the way Pakistan played, especially the game against Nepal, that they seem to keep trying till the last moment. Like the goal against Nepal, decisive one, came almost at the added time. And even against Bhutan, they scored a goal, I think 91 minutes in, from a substitute who came on.
Yeah.
So in terms of fitness, in terms of spirit, that seems to be there from the Pakistan team.
That certainly has been very, heartwarming that they've not given up. They didn't sit back and say, okay, we'll take 1-1 after 85 minutes against Nepal. They kept pushing and they had that chance and they took it. Against Bangladesh, we had the better chances. Were a little bit unlucky with that goal in the end. And same with yesterday. If we had sort of stayed happy at 2-0, then in the last game against Nepal and Bangladesh, Nepal would need 1-0 to both of them to go through. So that could have, anything like that would have happened. Whereas when you knew, okay, we're still going to push for that third goal to make sure we go through and then leave it for Nepal to do their own thing. Bangladesh really had one job. All they needed to do was just avoid defeat. They couldn't do that. So it certainly has been very encouraging. Hassan Bashir, for example, went off after 55 minutes in the first game, missed the second game through injury. And again, he was there yesterday, scored a goal and tried to set one up as well. So he's still, pushing through, and we don't have a great deal of depth in the squad at the moment, but it's encouraging that the spirit that they have, they still keep pushing.
Yeah, Mohammad Riaz also seems to be in form. 2 goals already.
Yeah, no, he's looking to do well. He's somebody that had high expectations. He came onto the scene as a 15-year-old in 2010 when we had a football tournament called the Geo Super League. After that, he's been within the system. He's played in the under-19s, under-21s, under-23s, and he's doing well. He's somebody who maybe should have gone out with a bit of guidance. Maybe should have gone abroad, and when he was still a teenager, to try to improve a little bit more. But no, he's still one of the good ones, and he's really adding to that team. In terms of the attacking side, he can play on the wing, he can help the striker up as well. So, the volley he hit, the crossbar, should have scored a goal for that as well. But it's been encouraging to see some of these guys, despite the challenges, despite the limitations, that they're still doing what they can. Because there's not a great deal of flair in this team in terms of our midfield wise. That's why we are struggling at the moment. But they're still putting a shift in.
Yeah, well, talking about the midfield, Saddam Hussein has got 2 assists so far. He seems to be doing pretty well, the captain. And he was also incidentally the person who scored against India in the last game. I think he was an under-23 player back then. India versus Pakistan under-23 in Bangalore. He was one of the scorers, and he's taken. We've seen him evolve over the last 3 years. He's playing in Turkey. Could you and I'm genuinely just asking out of ignorance, is he literally the best player in Pakistan team right now? Or do you think somebody even better has been missed out? Is he the Sunil Chhetri of Pakistan football? The biggest star?
He is among the top 2 in domestic football, I would say. Obviously, him and Kalimullah would have been the 2 best, but Kalimullah is no longer in the team. So, in domestically, Saddam certainly is the best. He's again from a very humble background, has done well, found his feet. He doesn't shy away from leadership issues. He takes and he's somebody who'll get stuck into it. He's been about. He went to Kyrgyzstan to play. Then he played in Bahrain for a bit, and then he's over in Cyprus, northern Cyprus. So he's tried his hand at these things, and he's tried to take those coaching advices from those places and those coaching methods, and it's added to his game. And he does need that little bit of sport in midfield, perhaps. But again, he's somebody who can get things going in midfield if he's got somebody to cover him as well. Like that last goal against Nepal we scored, he was the one who started that move off, put that diagonal ball out towards Adil. Adil then puts a big cross in, and against Bhutan as well, played a part in the first goal by Riaz. So he's certainly somebody. He's going into this role, and I think if he can have somebody with a bit more defensive mindedness involved in that midfield, and it'll allow to flourish a little bit more. But again, he needs to take a step now and go play in a better division, though.
Yeah, definitely. But this contingent where quite a lot of the players are playing abroad, and quite a lot of them are registered with domestic clubs. I don't really see that much of a difference, though. I mean, do you think it's immediately helping bringing in all the players who are registered outside?
No, I think that's certainly the difference is there. I mean, you look at it from Pakistani point of view, the difference is there in terms of if you don't have Hassan Bashir and Muhammad Ali up front, we would be a little bit toothless, because again, Hassan Bashir usually has a lot of involvement in terms of the 16 games he's played. Out of 10 or 12, he's had a hand in either scoring or creating a goal or two. Whereas Zesh has been outstanding in these 3 games so far. He's had bad games for Pakistan sometime, but he's been brilliant. And those defenders, the young defenders, I think can do a lot by having him around. Especially at the moment in Pakistan, we really are struggling to find some quality international standard centre backs, and these players can do well. And in terms of Muhammad Ali is one of those where he can just work hard for 90 minutes and you won't notice him. Again, like the Nepal game, he was just a workhorse for 90 minutes, just like everybody else in the other team. But then he pops up and scores that 96 minute. And yesterday, he had 2 brilliant assists. But he's been a little bit wasteful himself, but he still had 2 assists. But I do agree in terms of Pakistan's overseas recruitment. They do need to get a different level of players. We have players playing at a better league now. Adil Nabi is in the Scottish League. There's Botis Khan. There's Adnan Mohammed. He just plays in the Danish Superliga, but his team got relegated, so he's in the first division. Then the guys in Norway, like Sobet Hussein, if PFF wants to go for them. Isa Suleiman, England under 23s. That's then you suddenly, up that level a bit in terms of how very similar to how Philippines went about and how Afghanistan have gone about in terms of first you recruit sort of the semi-pro level, and then you certainly go to professional ones and say, okay, we're going to take that next step.
So there is a method, there is a long-term plan behind the recruitment strategy.
I would hope so. Because we have I've been involved over the years in terms of identifying some of those players and letting the federation know. But now they do seem to have a better staff in place if they want to go. We can still identify those players, but it's about going to them. For example, earlier in the year they're supposed to show an interest in Gaya Zahid. He plays for Apoel Nicosia. They ended up sending a message to his previous club, Vålerenga. So they weren't aware where he was playing, so they sent it to Vålerenga. Vålerenga sort of made it viral on social media, and lo and behold, 2 months down the line, Lars Lagerbäck calls him up to the Norway squad just to shut up the media critics, and he plays him for 5 minutes, but he's not called him now. I think that was just to sort of annoy everybody and play him for 5 minutes. So he's still eligible for Pakistan, because it's only a friendly. So we've got few players that are a bit of higher standard, but it depends. like I said, the token 3 to 4 guys from abroad, or they really want to push on and say, we want to go to the next stage. Because until we have a very good level of the domestic league for next 2 or 3 years, we are not going to drastically improve.
And there is a new league that's coming up, right? I think they're building a new league in the model of Indian Super League. Is it going to be just new franchises all over, or all other existing clubs going to be part of that?
There's not much clarity on it yet, because the PFF still announced that, okay, we're going to start the PPL, which is the departmental league. We're going to start it now and it's going to run until December. But then they also said, we're going to have a franchise model league as well. So there's no clarity what they're trying to do. I mean, are they going to do what you guys have done and say, look, we're going to two run parallel leagues. One's going to be a league and one's going to be maybe
that's going to be a bit messy.
So it's not very clear at the moment. But same with us. The idea of a franchise model is a good idea, because we don't have the type of club history and culture you have. So we can break away from a departmental setup, but then we don't have that kind of corporate backing / the media power, the media backing that in India IMG and Star were willing to step in. We don't have that. We've got media channels that's not even showing the SAFF Cup, so we can't really look for that. But because nobody is keen to do really a proper club oriented league. They're still stuck with departmental football, so maybe it's time to break free and push for a franchise. But then it has to be proper, like the A League or MLS, and once ISL establishes properly as a single league.
Yeah. So it's of course, thanks for laying the whole scenario out for us. It's a very concise, overview of the situation as it has progressed over the last 5 years in Pakistan football, and as it looks now, as a culmination of all these efforts, putting together a team and now going to prove something in SAFF Championship. And I think already a good point has been made now that they're already in the semi-finals. But let's come to the juicy part now. India versus Pakistan, highly anticipated match on Wednesday. It's going to be the most watched game in the whole tournament. I'm pretty sure it may actually get more viewers around the world than the final itself. But just want you to be honest here. This is the India under-23 team, right? You compare the strength of this under-23 team with the senior national team. What if it was a senior national team? Would this Pakistan team have any chance?
To be honest, not really sure, because your under-23 team is still in a lot better system and shape than our senior team has been. Your under-3 teams has been through the Indian Arrow setup and so on, perhaps, and they play at a very good standard. Whereas our guys are, like I said, very rustic, and they've been out of the game for a while. I mean, I guess the challenge is there for both teams, but I think it's just going to be the occasion, irrespective of what both teams feel. And in terms of, like you said, it's probably going to be a most watched game, and just a shame that we still probably won't have a broadcaster showing it in Pakistan.
What's the situation with that? I mean, is there a chance some Pakistani TV channel will show it?
It still remains very little. I mean, we have tweeted to the Minister of Information and the Secretary of the Information Ministry. They just don't seem. I mean, they were busy showing highlights or repeat matches from the 2014 World Cup. We've got no Premier League rights in Pakistan. La Liga has obviously gone to Facebook, and there's the guys, we just have to watch Indian Channel Star and Sony and whatever they are showing. So it's really tragic that that they can't even show SAFF Cup. But let's hope there's still about 36 hours to go. Let's hope maybe tomorrow somebody can take a note and step in and say, okay, we'll get the feed and we'll show it. But it remains to be seen. But just like a quick question for you,
Yeah.
Under 23s, you didn't send them to the Asian Games for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But then they went on to a preparation tour Australia. Surely the Asian Games would have been a bit more of a prep and competitive games, and you had a chance to go to second round as opposed
Yeah,
to
well,
friendlies in Australia.
yeah, they wanted to go, and what happened was the Indian Olympic Association came up with this new, I think, criteria that they have is that unless they determine that a team or an athlete can make the top 8 in the Asian Games, they were not going to send that team or athlete, which led to a very strange situation that some really deserving teams and athletes were just cut off because India IOA wanted to project an image of India that we are always in the top 10 everywhere in athletics in Asia. So it was unfortunate. It was a great opportunity that in India could have had this under 23 setup, and of course it's obvious that the reason we are going with these under 23 games is because Stephen Constantine feels there are some holes in the national team that needs to be filled up before Asian Cup, right? And the Asian Games was supposed to be the platform where we could test these boys and get them ready for the big stage, and if that had been allowed, and really AIFF tried, I can't complain. They went out and said, "Hey, we'll carry all our we'll bear all our costs. Just let us go."
Yeah, I mean,
we don't want money from the government.
So who footed the costs for the Australia trip then?
AIFF.
So the AIFF could have
doing
put it self-funded to the Asian Games as well?
Yeah, they were not allowed. They said we will self-fund, but IOA did not allow that as well.
Because we had a similar situation back in 2010 like this when the POA said, "Oh, we're not going to send the football team," and the PFF stepped in and said, "Okay, we'll finance it ourselves." So we went.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it turned out you only needed 3 points and a good goal difference to make it through to the second round as one of the 4 best runner-ups. We missed out at the very last minute. But it's really good how they are going. But I'm surprised that they didn't take that. But it's good to sort of take it as under 23. But it sometimes also feels that India doesn't value the tournament as much, that they will just send an under 19 or under 23 team. But of course,
I think
the ISL as well.
Yeah, I think if the under 23 Asian Games had not tanked like that for us, we would have probably sent a senior team. Because I remember I actually raised the question of under 23 teams at the SAFF Championship last time. I asked Stephen Constantine, I asked the coach, then coach of Maldives, that should the subcontinental championship should be an under 23 affair just to promote the youth, and everybody at that moment said, no, we want competitive football here. It's something that we look forward to. It's a serious trophy, and we want to bring our best team to these tournaments. And I think the presence of Afghanistan sort of determined a lot of this attitude back then, because India were trying to just get the title back. Maldives were trying to prove themselves against India and Afghanistan. Now that Afghanistan is gone, I think India doesn't see a big rival. Of course, Pakistan is always a rival, but in terms of that kind of a challenge that Afghanistan could present, they just don't feel it's there anymore. And
I think maybe we need to have a guest team to come in into
Absolutely.
the edition. I mean, we are hosting the 2020 edition. Maybe we can pitch the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. I think the Western Asian Football Federation under 16 tournament that happened, that had India and Japan as guest teams, and both teams did quite well. So it's a great.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an Asian team. It could be anybody. You could get somebody else. Could be like a team from the Indian Ocean, or could be a smaller team like, I don't know, from like Gibraltar or San Marino or somebody, just like a guest team, just another minnow to join us. But at least they'll have a different style of play when they come, and it'll probably
and you could actually even bring back Afghanistan, because even though they wanted to go to Central Asia for their own reasons, the officials and the coaches, team management people, everybody said, like, we love playing countries like India. We want to be
I mean, we should just ask them to come and play as a guest, because over there they only got 6 teams, and what they're going to do is play 2 group matches really.
Basically,
it is something that we need to look at, and we certainly like the idea. I think you mentioned for a Nations League, the Asian Football Confederation really need to look into that, because that's something will allow smaller teams to have regular action on FIFA breaks. Like, sometimes we go an entire year without playing a friendly game.
Yeah, of course, this will solve all that problem. It will also solve the problem of some teams gaming the rankings, like India did.
Yeah.
Just pick the right match at the right time, because you have the money now, and you just keep winning. And India is ranked above some really good teams who just did not schedule themselves properly.
Yeah.
And and India is actually ranked below some teams who probably India can beat, and you have a league that just goes out of the window. You play who you play, and everybody just stays on that even keel. It's really good for competitive football. But coming back to SAFF Championship, we sort of veered off course there. It does not look like it's something that even Pakistan will take. Going forward, if the team solidifies, you start playing better, winning games. I think India, Pakistan, both these sort of better off countries will look forward to Southwest Asian Football Federation Championship or something like that. Because you just look at 7 teams playing in 2 groups. One group has 4 teams, the other group has 3 teams. Nothing seems to be in place. It just seems like a haphazardly put together competition. Whereas the Southwest Asia situation, that seems like that can be a really good competition to play.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that remains an interesting point in terms of what is the purpose of Southwest Asian Football Federation. I mean, one of the main objectives, I think, at that time was to get a bloc together and vote for the United States bid, which has happened. And now they've held their own sort of elections and had their general meeting. And I think obviously another outcome of that is the president, Adil Al-Izzat, is looking to run for the AFC presidency. So that's another, I think, objective. What they're trying to do is to get a bloc together and start backing their guy. But like Sheikh Salman has said, there can't be another regional sub-federation because we already have 5.
No, I think what will happen is SAFF will be there, but any team that starts doing well will also send an under-23 team. So it's going to be India under-23, Pakistan under-23, Nepal under-23, and the rest sending senior teams, and nobody really cares. They're just going through the motions. So it's a real possibility, I think, especially if we do have a SWAF tournament, and we see South Asian teams actually playing against Middle Eastern teams and having good contests. It's a good possibility for the next 3-4 years. Do you agree?
It is, but it's also like, I think I saw there was a lot of excitement around Indian fans as well that we'll get to play better teams. But I think we're also, in terms of politically, we're probably just being, we're just being used in terms of in the bigger geopolitics of Asian football.
Yeah,
and that is the Middle Eastern football as well. But yeah, I mean, I saw one of the Nepal guys saying, well, we are going to get $5 million from SWAF. So I don't know what sort of money is being promised to these staff members from SWAF body. And it remains to be seen how then that money then goes into, developing the local game and then having SWAF tournaments. So it remains to be seen. Very early days. And but there's one thing that I do want to sort of discuss and maybe talk is it is sort of a bit more engagement, I think, within Pakistan and Indian football. Again, with the governments we have in place, I guess it's been difficult. We would be good to see some of our players play in ISL or be it I-League. A couple of guys I think fairly decent enough to make it. The last time Adil Nabi came from England, from West Brom, so he got in obviously because he was on his British passport. But some of the others, it would be good. I've obviously, as a keen follower, I've tried in the past. We had a couple of clubs interested back in the day, but then the standard red tape always gets in the way. But it would be good to see someday.
Yeah, it would be. I want India and Pakistan to play more often. I mean, it's certainly a better option than playing Nepal so often, and it would generate a lot of buzz. It always does when India and Pakistan are playing. It's good for the sport in both countries. But of course, it's a political situation that comes in the middle of sport all the time, and also with the situation we have, I'm not sure. I hope it doesn't come to this, but there might be some complication around the 2020 SAFF tournament. Like, it might be that the Indian government says the Indian team will not go to Pakistan. I mean, I can't even remember when was the last time an Indian team went to Pakistan for a match. I think it was a kabaddi match. It was one of those circle-style kabaddi matches that happened somewhere in Lahore.
Yeah.
And that it's been a few years since that. So it's, I don't know.
I mean, you're having elections soon as well, aren't you? But don't see things changing that much. But yeah, let's hope that come 2020 SAFF Cup, we are on a bit better atmosphere and we can have India come. Obviously, we don't know yet which city it will be. Probably better to have it in Karachi. I guess you'll get a lot more crowd and diverse crowd as compared to elsewhere. But yeah, it would be good to see India come. I mean, last time they came was 2005, and that's been a long time. And that was when Sunil Chetri made his debut, and guy's gone on to become a legend since.
Yeah. It would be such a great, sort of. I mean, we're already discussing when he's gonna go. It would be a great bookend to his career if he goes out there and does perform well in Pakistan. That's where he started after all. So yeah, it's something to look forward to. But Wednesday, it looks like a very tight game to me because both teams have somewhat loose midfield, and it seems like a lot of individual spirit that's keeping the squads together. I don't see the Indian under-23 performing that well as a squad yet, and I don't see the Pakistan team performing that well as a squad yet either. The only big difference I think is because Pakistan have played under pressure so far in the tournaments. We've seen what they can do when they're being pressed. India just haven't had that kind of competition. So we just don't know if Pakistan can just play this aggressive kind of a football and get an early goal. We just don't know how this...
It's very good points. In terms of Pakistan, we have had this inability to just grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Even yesterday against Bhutan, there's no way you should let Bhutan pass about, So we allowed them to do that. Whereas I think our guys will be a little bit more tired, even though they'll have a day extra of rest, but they've played a game extra as well. So that's, I was really surprised with Maldives. They are probably going through a bit of transition post Ali Ashfaq and everything, but yeah, they just didn't seem to have much in them. They drew with Sri Lanka and then they lost today and had to rely on a coin toss.
Yeah, I mean, that was weird. Coin toss determining who's going to go in, and how would you feel losing that coin toss? I mean, that's some proper Dhoni moment right there.
Very, very South Asian, coin toss. I mean, just go on the disciplinary, because you've got the same goal difference. Your next thing should be disciplinary, and on disciplinary, Maldives go through because Sri Lanka had more yellow cards. But luckily, the coin toss fell in Maldives' favour as well, because that would have been really unfair on them if they hadn't, gone through based on that coin toss.
Yeah, it's this entire tournament seems a bit weird. I mean, I was there at Greenfield when the last time it happened. Facilities were awesome. The ground was great. It was happening in a nice suburban spot. It was December, so the weather was awesome. This time it just seems like everything is just...
We were really looking forward to that SAFF Cup in Kerala. We thought, it'll be really good crowds and it'll be in December. It'll be good. And then, our federation decided to pull the plug and said we're not going. We missed that one because the Delhi one was really, really poor because this was a really big stadium and the crowds weren't there. It was just an empty stadium. I think that was really disappointing one. But there are places in India where you can go play and the crowds will come. So that's sad. But yeah, I mean, obviously in the meantime, I think we missed the SAFF games as well. They were in Guwahati as well, so we missed out on that as well. Nepal won that surprisingly. But yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm probably more on the KG side, maybe 1-0 to whoever wins. I think it's going to be that kind of game.
Yeah, but how do you fancy your strikers going up against the likes of Salam Ranjan Singh or Subhashish Bose? Because these are not the sturdy, imposing defenders like the senior national teams has Sandesh Chingan types. These are like Subhashish Bose. He's full of spirit, but he doesn't weigh that much. He's lanky. He can head the ball. He can fly in for a tackle, but he can't dodge somebody to the ground and do it cleanly, and that's why he ends up getting quite a bit of bookings as well. Do you see a chance that Pakistan can just push through with the sheer physicality here?
I think they can. I think especially with Hassan and Muhammad Ali's physicality, I think that's something we'll definitely look to do. But I think for India, Pakistan's left back is fairly a weaker position. We keep getting caught out on the left side. So India's right wing, I'm not too sure who it would be, but they'll have, I think, a really good adventurous time there, because we have a full-back, Mohsin Ali, young guy. He has struggled to keep up with his other three defenders. So he's always the one, he's playing somebody on side. He's always 2 yards behind. And I think that's how Nepal exploited that in the first game as well.
Yeah, of course. The Indian defense has not actually let in a goal.
Exactly. And has not been tested that much either.
Yeah, and it kind of actually worries me more than it's reassuring, but it does worry me as well, because I don't think either Sri Lanka or Maldives had a attack as capable as Nepal. As Pakistan. In fact, when they played each other, they didn't score a goal. So, and I don't think they have actually scored a goal, which sort of, damn it. I mean, Maldives have gotten through without scoring a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's such a mismatch in terms of having a group.
Again, that's just SAFF Cup for you.
Yeah, at least it
was similar to the Asian Games women tournament. I think was it Thailand or somebody or another smaller team where they didn't score a goal and still went through.
Yeah, it's really weird.
They didn't get a point, I think, and they went through.
Yeah, even more weird. It's well,
really looking forward to seeing somebody like Robin Singh in this tournament, but I guess you not sent him.
Yeah, well, he's not in the under-23 bracket anymore. But
what are those cult figures in Indian football?
He could have been useful out here just to push through powerfully, and that's what he does. He just draws the defenders to himself, and even if he's not scoring, that creates space for others. Manveer Singh, Farooq Chaudhary, I really like them. I like them as sort of future strikers who will take over the national team in the future. I have hopes for them, but they're just not up there, and that's what worries me. If they face a high pressure situation, there's a lot of young talent in this team who have never faced a semi-final or a final or a match against Pakistan where the pressure really gets to you, and so I don't know how much it's gonna tell on them, and I think the same situation is with Pakistan, because I don't remember when was the last time they played a semi-final or a final.
No,
it's been a long time.
We have never played a SAFF final. We have played SAFF Games finals. We won about 4 of them, but again, that last time was in 2006. So we've not. I mean, the only guy in this current squad that even played a semi-final was Zesh, and that was in 2005. So these guys are not very, not very familiar with success when it comes to national team. Like I'll give you an example. Even at under 19 level, we've only won one match in the last 15 years, in the last 16 years at under 19 level. And have a guess who that came against?
Who was that?
Right? India. And it was two free kicks from a guy called Bilal Rahman. He's in the squad in this tournament. So he's actually the only one who, has done that in a sort of qualifier game. So yeah, it is very, very difficult because when you're not been around winning squads, so it's just good that we'd won two games in last 12 SAFF Cup games, and now we have 2 wins in 3. So it's a little bit of a momentum that maybe they can take forward. But like I said, it's Pakistan-India game. A lot of the things are going to go out the window as soon as they step onto that pitch.
Yeah, obviously, it's a game of nerves that it comes down to in the end, and whoever holds on is going to win. Which is why
some of your guys might be a little bit well equipped. They play in front of big crowds in the ISL and in the IB. Whereas our guys have not played in front of big crowds in domestic football either.
I don't think there's going to be a big crowd in Dhaka. There might be a good amount of crowd, this being a very interesting game, but it's not going to be as it could have been if the match was in India, for example. Then you would see a turnout, to be an intimidating presence in the stadium. Mm-hmm. In Bangladesh, I just don't see it. Even in their domestic leagues or cup finals, it's not that high. 2 foreign teams coming and playing. I don't know how much local people will turn out. I hope there's a big crowd, and they're partisan and they keep cheering on. But yeah, I think that's the biggest question mark that's hanging over this match, is that we just haven't seen these players in these situations before. Like none of them have gone out. Yeah,
we need a friendly game. We need a full strength friendly game at the Salt Lake Stadium at some stage.
Yeah, definitely. That would see I think a 70,000 turnout, and it would be a great experience for all the players. But what I was saying was, whether you're talking about Manveer Singh or the Pakistani strikers, or even Saddam Hussein, the Pakistani captain, they have not seen high level action like this, and they have not seen it against each other. So this is like even more pressure, because it's an India-Pakistan game, and we will see how it goes only when these players go through that experience. It's so in that way, does this game look like a building block to you? It's how an individual player will perform in this will sort of cement his popularity with the fans, his ability to be in the team a long time in the future, and how the team performs in this match will sort of become a focal point or a thing of inspiration when they're setting the next big target, when they're looking at the next 2-3 years. It's like, okay, yeah, we did well on that big game, so we can take on the next big target.
One thing I'm sort of surprised about, you had some really good players coming through a few years ago. I'm surprised they have not got into this team, even if you're sending a fairly young squad. It's like you had Uttam Rai and you had Brandon Fernandez types. I thought they might have, gone into this kind of thing, but I guess they've really not realized their potential as what they were.
Not really. I think this is a team that's Constantine is trying to get players ready for the Asian Cup, right? And he wants a certain kind of players who will perform well against Middle Eastern highly physical teams, right? And that's what this is all about. If even Uttam Rai, he's not that physically imposing, right? He's not going to perform for us in Asian Cup 2019, right? So I'm pretty sure he's going to get his turn, but it's going to come later. Right now, it's all about next January, and Constantine has picked the players who he believes may be a part of that squad. I think 3 or 4 of this team might make it into that team. So yeah, so what do you think the Pakistan team's perspective is on this tournament? Like this team, whatever they do in this tournament, how does that play out in terms of the future plans of this Pakistan team?
I didn't catch that clearly. In terms of Pakistan, I think we probably still go with a sort of similar approach. Going forward, there is a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done. We don't have that sort of, I think, like you said, the approach as in who's going to be in this team, who's going to be in that team, because nobody has ever built the Pakistani team like that. Because for example, at one stage we had a coach on a 12-month contract, then we had one on a 2-year contract. So nobody's been given a long enough run to come in and say, okay, you're going to prepare a team like this. For example, we'll have the World Cup qualifiers in no time, probably by March time or something. Yeah. And still, we will probably won't have a clearer picture in terms of where we are going, because obviously we won 2 games. Let's see what happens on Tuesday. We might move up on our ranking a little bit, but then we'll have to use the October dates and so on to really say, okay, you know what, we want to push up and get out of the bottom 6 or bottom 10 and see how AFC designs the qualifiers. Because if you are in the bottom 10 and 12 and the AFC throws you again a curveball with a 2-legged playoff pre-qualifier, and you're really in a tough spot, because that's another World Cup qualifier where you have to do that. And I think some of the teams really played well last time. They did that when they were just outside the zone and they played a game or 2 and they just moved up, and then they ended up playing 8 World Cup qualifiers. So for us, it's one of those where we really have to think long term, but it's sport in Pakistan. Nobody really thinks long term.
Well, obviously, right now the short-term vision is to get the job done on Tuesday. What's your prediction for the game? And you can't say like 2-1 to whoever wins. You have to pick a team. Who's going to win 2-1?
I think it'll be 2-1 India.
I think it might be 1-0 or 2-0 India. But yeah, let's see. I'm being a bit
conservative. I think you're being a bit conservative with that prediction.
I think I'm being optimistic about our defense. We'll probably let in a goal, but I'm just going to go out and say 2-0. I want to see Vineet Rai go out and do something. Just get a goal and just announce his arrival, basically, because I think he's one of those guys who might make it into the Asian Cup in 2019. If he gets a goal, it will be a nice addition to the resume that will get him up there. So yeah,
you got 2 guys with 2 goals apiece now, so that looks quite promising. Changte and Passy. How is?
Yeah, well, I don't think.
How is he rated?
Sumit Passy is not rated well at all in India. The fans kind of hate him. It's bit tough on him, but I don't see him being effective in the Asian Cup.
Just looking at it, he's not scored many career goals at his club levels, has he? He's only got 3 goals. No. That was a Sporting goal, and that's it. He's not scored a club goal for the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, but he has scored, and Constantine keeps pushing him for some reason. He keeps getting his chances to earn a place in the Asian Cup and prove his worth. He scored 2 goals, but again he played against Maldives when he came on. Not very inspiring. I mean, you could just see him just being a bit at loss of what to do out there. So I really hope he does not get pushed into the the starting lineup against Pakistan, because this is a game. If India slip up, if Pakistan get an early goal, then everything just goes out of the window. We don't know how these less experienced players will react to a pressure cooker situation like that. But let's see.
Last question: Is he going to play on the right or is he going to play on the left? Changte. Should we be concerned about
Changte
him?
is, Changte is on the right wing. So he's going to take on your left wing, left back.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and by the way, Changte is a little bit, SAFF Championship is kind of his thing. I mean, you remember him being I think he was 16 years old last time. He got a debut against Nepal, scored 2 goals on his debut. For a while, people thought he was the youngest player to score for India. Turned out it wasn't the case, but yeah, he was one of the 3 youngest people to score for India. And he sort of, Asian Cup qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers, he sort of got benched, but this seems to be his platform. So I'm rooting for him and Vinit Rai and maybe Anirudh Thapa getting into the Asian Cup squad. And let's see how this goes down.
Some German influence in there as well.
Yeah,
A guy called
absolutely.
German as well. That's quite interesting.
Let's see. German Preet, I don't know. He's not really been getting too many game times. He did well in the under 23 games last time. I'm not sure if Constantine is thinking about getting him into the Asian Cup squad. If he did, he'd probably get a little bit more promotion, a little bit more game time. I think. Let's see. It's very hard for a player like Jamanpreet to claim a place in the national team right now because there's quite a few good, experienced players out there.
This is really what you call throwing them into the deep end. I mean, you got players just making the debuts and players have never played a national team footballer in this tournament. So yeah, it's one of those things that will happen only in South Asia, where you'll just throw all under 23s into a tournament and say, off you go. And they'll probably, they'll come back, win it. But it's one of those things, and the more you do it, the more success you have, the more they'll keep doing it.
Yeah, and thus you have made the biggest argument for continuing SAFF Championship. It's going to give that platform for the young players. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great, and let's hope we have a good game on Tuesday. Let's hope India wins, and I'm pretty sure you're hoping and praying for Pakistan to win. But hope it's a great game to watch, and we get to play way more often.
Yeah, certainly. And let's hope it's a beginning of something that they can build on, both teams.
And that was the interesting bit that we were expecting, and good to hear both sides of the story. And I think we're heading into a similar direction, both countries, India, Pakistan. Hopefully, you're looking out for that 1 or 2 players who will make the cut to the final, the senior national team. Chiranjit, what you thought about this entire bit? Are we looking positive in the direction that we are heading?
Well, it's always great to get more in-depth updates on how Pakistan football has gone through a crisis in the last 3-4 years. It's similar to the crisis we have, but 20 times worse. It's interesting how they are recovering, how they are slowly getting back on track, and it's always great to see them in competition, because as sports fans, we are sucker for India-Pakistan games, right? And if the Pakistan Football Federation doesn't have its act straight, we miss out on those contests, right? I mean, if there is no India-Pakistan, now that Afghanistan is gone, what makes SAFF Championship interesting at all? Like, do you look forward to India playing Maldives or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka?
Nepal.
And Nepal we see 20 times a year. That's not a big deal. So we can see that anytime. So wahi hai na, like, otherwise a lot of the glamour, a lot of the competitiveness just gets sucked out if they're not in the picture. And with Southwest Asian Football Federation also, maybe they will have their own tournament, and we will see both India and Pakistan play in another common tournament. Well, it's always going to be good for Indian football, because it's going to get a lot of extra attention as well from the casuals, and this is how you grow sport, through competition.
Yeah.
It should. Hopefully, we will see India and Pakistan play each other a lot of times, and the rivalry will grow.
There we are, and we've hit almost the end of the show. But as we promised, we will be talking about the bit that we couldn't resist not to talk about. Kerala Blasters is also like the other ISL teams on tours, on playing friendlies in the pre-season, and they happen to play a team in Thailand. I'm not sure what the name is, but the name of the club, which sounded like they played, has come up with an interesting comment saying that please clarify to your fans that you too, we haven't played a friendly. So we're talking about Bangkok FC, who's put up this conversation on social media saying you need to clarify this. So we've not played.
Yeah.
And what's happening?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Same thing happened to Jamshedpur FC on the same day. Like Mohammed FC, Mohammed CF, I think. They said we played against them and we had a result or whatever it was. Then Mohammed CF Twitter account replies in Hindi on Twitter saying, हमें लगता है कि ये त्रुटि है, हमें आपके साथ खेलने का आनंद नहीं है. It's like, I don't know, man. I mean, look. There's a lot of unprofessionalism in Indian football, but I have never seen anybody get the opponent teams wrong. This is obviously a situation where the social media team got the wrong word or misunderstood. There was a miscommunication. But dude, like they played a university team in Bangkok. Like it was like some suburban university out there that they played against. How can you like make that mistake that you play a university team and you let the social media guys think it's Bangkok FC and even if they got it wrong at first, well you're looking at the social media updates, right? You can see that they are giving out wrong information to the fans. If you are part of the team management or something, you would reach out like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Galat hai ye.
And we're yet to hear any clarification or any something to clear out the air about this confusion from either sides.
Well, yeah, Jamshedpur FC have replied to the Mostol SCF by saying we apologize. It was a human error. Kerala Blasters, I don't know, man. I haven't seen anything from them.
They're still busy.
And yeah, oh my goodness, this is a disaster. But I'm sure this is just an innocent mistake. Somebody made a mistake in the social media team. But imagine like the implications. Somebody can say like, oh yeah, they were just putting out bogus updates to create hype for ISL. Like they're trying to make themselves appear much better than they actually are, right? Yeah. And some ISL teams are doing well out there. Like Mumbai City are playing some Thai teams. I think they're getting the names right. At least nobody has come out and said it's a wrong team or something like that about them. ATK had a good spell in Spain. They played Fulham. The Fulham team had.
This is confirmed by the Fulham team as well, so we know it's genuine.
Yeah. And of course, ATK started 6 foreigners, and Fulham team had mostly reserves and academy graduates who came up. But yeah, it's a good thing to look at that. ATK is going to England and playing a renowned club out there. At least they are wearing that same crest. It's not some other team that is being passed on. But it's KBFC need to get their act straight. Jamshedpur FC also need to get their act straight.
All right.
This is not inexcusable. I mean, imagine if you heard this from an I-League club. Like, can you imagine the storm? Unprofessional legacy shit and all that shit that people would start saying on social media, and you have the people who are saying we are the professional clubs and all that shit and getting the names wrong. What is wrong?
Yeah, we can already see the cracks happening after the main partner has moved out. And
I don't know about the IMG departure. I don't know about that. apparently some people are saying that IMG has been sort of inactive for the last couple of years. It's been Reliance running the show mostly, and it's just formal now. But about that, I have something of an outlier opinion on IMG's departure. I think it can be a good thing for Indian football.
Yes, yeah. I think it's a great point to get into a new podcast. Probably we'll save it for another day. So we'll have to wrap the show at this point, and we will look forward to the semi-finals of the SAFF Championships. That's happening on the 12th of September, 2 days from today. The first one will be played between Nepal and Maldives, followed by India and Pakistan on the same day. So we will bring you updates on those matches, and hopefully we should see some good things happening for each of the countries that are playing. Especially we're talking about Indian football, so good for Indian football to come out from there. On that note, if you're following us on Twitter, do let us know via comments. If you're listening to us on YouTube, do let us know via comments. Give us a share, give us a subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're listening to us on the IVM podcast app, let us know how you're finding it. It's also available on Android and iOS, by the way. SoundCloud is also another platform where you can listen to the podcast on. We will come back to you in another episode next week. Till then, guys,
please give a follow to Football Park on Twitter, and go to footballpakistan.com for in-depth updates on what's happening on that side. And we thank Mohammed Shahnawaz again for coming on the show. Hopefully we'll hear from him again in one of the future episodes.
Yeah. All right, guys. Still another episode. Take care. See you.
Give me a word. या कोई भी लाइन. कुछ भी हो सकता है यार. क्या कहा आपने? टोपी. Okay. Mohan Joshi hated wearing topis. He felt suffocated in them. टोपी पहनते ही उसे स्कूल की याद आती थी. Where of course he had no choice but to wear a टोपी. वह जिस दिन पास आउट हुआ, उसी दिन उसने अपनी टोपी का बॉनफायर बना दिया. And since then, he'd never worn a cap or a hat. ना कड़कती धूप में, and not even to bacho from the thandi. But from Monday 26th February, Mohan Joshi had to wear a topi all the time. Why? Because if he didn't, everyone around him knew exactly what kya soch raha tha. They knew that he was wondering how the girl in the yellow churidar would look bina kapde ke. They knew when he was calling the boss a sadela tomato. They knew everything. पर ये सब हुआ कैसे? अरे भाई, यही तो स्टोरी है. और ये स्टोरी आप ही ने मुझे दिया by giving me the starting word. यही तो है The Croc's Tales. Words आपके, कहानी आपके लिए. Catch the stories on Monday and Thursday on the IVM website, app, and anywhere you get your podcast from. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Vishal Gondal, an entrepreneur. I've had the chance to meet and understand how some of the super achievers have hacked their way to success, and they have done spectacular innovations. Now I take a closer look at these people's lives to find out what lies beneath the force, only on the Vishal Gondal Show. Episodes out fortnightly on Wednesdays on the IVM website, app, or your favorite podcasting platform.